Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name's Judy, and let's talk about my current obsession, Little Women. I've been thinking about it. I don't remember actually reading it. I know that I read Jane Eyre when I was 9 because I was such a little... I had to wait until I was 11. I would be grown up then, so I could read Wuthering Heights. I was a child, what can I say? But I don't have that clear feeling of when I read Little Women. I know that it was something I read and reread a lot. I know the story, I thought, by heart. But I know I read it, I just don't have that clear-cut memory. Growing up, I've shared it before, I had the privilege of living outside of the LA area, and instead of Saturday cartoons, I would watch Saturday movies, and they showed everything from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So you just had to wait long enough, and you could see just about every great movie at the time. So, from those times. So I got to see, and it's totally memorable to me, the 1933 version, directed by George Cukor, starring Katharine Hepburn. She was amazing. Out of all the Joes, I think she embodied it in a way that I don't know I feel anyone else has quite done. I think that she, let's come down just here. She was boyish, she was rambunctious, she was angular, she didn't fit in the mold. And you saw it visually. And her, New England accent and drawl, or whatever you want to call it, just her twang. I just always loved her as Jo. I also saw the 1944 version. This was directed by Mervyn LeRoy, starring June Allison and Peter Lawford. I liked it. I really did. It had, the beautiful young Elizabeth Taylor. But I never quite bought June Allison as Jo. She was energetic. But that was as much as I could say about her. I loved the 1944 Gillian Armstrong version, starring Winona Ryder, Christian Bale. Yeah, it was a great version. I just saw twice now the 2019 version, directed, screenplay, and directed by Greta Gerwig, starring Saoirse Ronan, Timothée Chalamet, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Eliza Scanlon, Laura Dern, Meryl Streep, blah, 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 blah. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. I don't know that I consider Saoirse Ronan the perfect Jo. If I were a director, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But as the movie, modernizing it, creating a new ethos for a newer audience to visually see Little Women portrayed by these amazing actors, I thought was wonderful. some of the things, now I've seen quite a few of the YouTube, interview clips. And seeing it the second time, I knew to look for, Greta Gerwig was talking about this hue that she tried to imbue in, because she cross-cut in the film. She starts it like at the end, and then Joe remembers scenes from when they were, 6, 7 years younger, and various things. And I liked that. I thought it was energetic, a hair confusing at the very beginning, but quickly overcome. I mean, like a book, it's like you can figure it out. I thought she did a great job there. And I thought the overlapping, what she was trying to do was to create a musical score for when the girls were young, and chattering together, one voice over another, so you didn't necessarily hear everything because they were all talking all at the same time, which I thought was particularly poignant and emotional when you consider the girls as adults, and suddenly they were by themselves, and the vocal sounds and presence of their sisters are no longer there, and you understand why Joe wanted to cling so tightly to their sisterhood, and why she didn't want Meg to get married, because she knew that that was the beginning of the end. And yeah, I'm glad that it was nominated for Best Picture. I am very disappointed that Greta Gerwig did not get a nomination as director, Best Director. I think that it shows the Academy Award nominations that, as well as the nominations being so white, they're also so male. Because you look at the male directors, and almost across the board, they're very, very violent movies. So, yeah, I think that as a society, we tend to think of this piece of work as for women, and I think it's a shame. I totally support Gerwig in her decision for the ending. I love that mishmash. I love the fact that she shows Joe actually getting her book published in this beautiful red leather. I think it was leather cloth. I'm not quite sure which. Hardbound book with the gold lettering. And I love the fact that she left you wondering, did she marry Professor Bear? Did she not? Because the most important thing for Joe was her literary aspirations, as well as the love and friendship of her family and friends. And the ending showed that perfectly. I really loved the ending. I did. It left it amorphous. You could take it either way. And I think as a woman living in 2020, the traditional ending is very problematic. It really is. And I will touch on that later. Right now, I wanted to finish talking about the movie. So I really, truly loved this version of Little Women. I thought she took this oft-told story and gave it a new spin. I also, in my research, because once I saw Little Women the first time, I've read the book, seen the movie again. I have also gotten ready to read a book about, just started that, about Louisa May Alcott, a novel, don't get me wrong. But I also went ahead and watched the 2017 Masterpiece Theater, Little Women, directed by Vanessa Caswell, starring Maya Hawke as Jo and Emily Watson as Marmee. It was a 4-part series. I thought that it was well done. It was a little quiet for me, and I could understand that the Gerwig may seem a little overwhelming, but you can't tell me that 4 young women under one roof wouldn't be a little overwhelming anyways. So I thought that it was a fine adaptation. I really did. I liked the Maya Hawke was very good as Jo. She has more of a longer, angular face. And there was one poignant scene in the PBS series. It was The Call, I think is the name of it, where Amy drags Jo out of the house to call on their neighbors. And Amy, being Amy, is so pristine, and everything is just perfect from her hair down to her little boots and her gloves, and she is a sight to behold. Whereas Jo has hair dangling down her back, wearing this old cape thing, because it might rain, and, she didn't want to get wet, and, and the juxtaposition was so sweet. I thought it touched so much on what Alcott originally wrote about how these 2 sisters are so different. And so I just wanted to say that for me, now granted, I haven't seen every version, but I think it's okay for different eras to create their unique spin on this timeless classic. And I know this is going to just be part 1. So let me stop here, although I do want to say, what would be my dream Little Women? Now, I find Saoirse Ronan to be such a beautiful young woman that she didn't, I don't know, there was just something missing in that. I thought she did a brilliant job, but for me, she wasn't my Jo, the Jo of my imagination. But, and the other problem I had with it, but it's true of every version, is those 6-7 years, a young woman changes a lot. And if it were up to me, I would do like what they did with Boyhood. And I would get a young cast together and shoot the beginning of the, like book 1 of Little Women. And then wait 5 to 6 years and then shoot book 2. So that you would have the same characters, because I don't really like the fact that you use characters that are not the same. No, I don't think Gerwig's worked very well on trying to show the younger versus the older, particularly Florence Pugh. I didn't buy her as a 12-year-old. You know, you put her in a short dress, that just didn't quite do it for me. However, with the Martin Scorsese film, The Irishman, I didn't buy that either, where they tried to digitally alter the ages of these elderly actors. De Niro, Pacino, yeah, you might be able to change the face, but you can't make a 70-year-old move the way that a 20 or 30-year-old man would. You just can't. And I didn't buy it. So, I mean, I don't think that doing computer generation would be the way to go. I really think if you do like a Boyhood thing where you plan on making this over a period of years, that would be the better way to go. But of course, that would be in a perfect world too, wouldn't it? I loved Timothée Chalamet as Laurie. I thought it was the first time that I saw the young Laurie in a realistic way. However, where he worked as a boy, I didn't really see him as a man. He seems to be one of those actors that is very, very boyish. And I don't know if time will change that or not. But anyways, that's one thing I thought that he and Saoirse were so beautiful together. Because ultimately that relationship is still very, very special. And so yeah, I wanted to talk the movies, and I will be back to talk about the book. Because I have some serious thoughts about it, and also the story. So this is the end of part 1. See you again soon. Bye.